Our next speaker is David Hoeppner. He's a control system and electrical department manager for Fluor. Please help me welcome David to the podium.
Thank you, Dick. So I'm here to give you a little bit of a perspective from an engineering contractor's point of view. So you'll indulge me a little bit about my background, which then you'll understand kind of my message throughout this. So again, I'm Dave Hoeppner. I started at Fluor in 1980 in the piping department. It was at that time that instrumentation was pneumatic. The electronic age was just really starting to kick off. Was just really beginning stages. So in 1982, the instrument group split off from the piping group to form its own department. And it was also during that time that the big downturn in the 80s happened. And as a result, to optimize and kind of save on overhead, they combined the electrical and the control systems department in 1983. In the late 80s, the industry started coming back, and in the early 90s they split the departments apart again. So technology had really taken off. Automation was in full swing at that time. So in 1999 I joined the Fluor Global Sourcing and Supply Group. The objective there was to look at what we spent in all of our business lines across the globe to procure 80% of the equipment that we procured. It was at that time one of our automation vendors was failing pretty significantly on a very large Middle East project. So they pulled me out and put me into project management in their office to guide them to make them successful for, number one, the project, and for Fluor as an agreement holder. In 2006, I helped open up our Fluor Mid-East office in Qatar. In 2007, I came back to the Houston office and I joined the engineering management group. In 2015, with the downturn in the industry again, we combined again the control systems and electrical departments, and they appointed me to lead up the two groups. And then in December of this past year, after a year of arm twisting, I accepted the role as the functional process lead for control systems for Fluor globally. So you can see I have a different approach or a different opinion to automation systems than your typical control systems engineer that's been in the business and stayed in control systems forever. I'm looking at it more from an execution perspective. So a little bit about my company. If you're not familiar with Fluor, it was started in 1912 by Swiss immigrants known as the Fluor Corporation, and it's grown to what it is today with our headquarters in Dallas, Texas. Fluor is one of the largest engineering, procurement, fabrication, construction, and maintenance companies globally that design, builds, maintains capital-efficient facilities for clients on 6 continents, delivering integrated solutions for our clients in the energy and chemicals, government, life sciences, and manufacturing, infrastructure, mining and metals, and the power groups. So to get to the meat of what I'm here to talk about, changing our approach on automation projects, and why do we need to change? So part of the biggest challenges that are facing us today on capital projects is the funding. All the projects are challenged with market pressures, reduced budgets, investor expectations, the need to do more with less. With improved results, capital efficiency, delivering and investment predictability, and driving for longer, more complex project development, openness and hunger for new ideas, knowing that we have to get under a certain cap, which is difficult to do without some major changes to our work processes. So with a traditional engineering method and traditional automation equipment, there's many more steps than what's illustrated here. The traditional equipment in software is very cumbersome, and it's all based on the availability of information and how many changes there are and their severity. The typical engineering method for equipment and software, the typical method utilizes customized engineering for the marshalling cabinets and controller cabinets, which must go under factory acceptance testing. All your signals are brought back to the LER, the control building, via multi-paired home run cables. That involves multiple terminations per instrument. Your design is dependent on complete deliverables from all owners. Construction must be fully complete before commissioning is possible. So driving this change, like Dick mentioned in the opening, is ExxonMobil with It Just Happened and was rolled out in January 2014. It reflects the intended purpose to engage the EMDC's major automation and electrical partners to create better business efficiencies. So under the direction of Sandy Vassar, they set out to move technology forward, all in an effort to reduce cost and complexity. And what has become normal, make that change. Eliminating dependencies that we've become accustomed to and driving the technology revolution to the next phase. They've addressed their expectations with automation suppliers and EPCs as well, to take their vision and change how we implement technology and execute projects, standardizing on equipment versus engineering every single piece. So their vision is to take what the traditional work processes were and eliminate a bunch of the steps, simplifying the specs, reviews, correspondence, and purchase of the equipment. Termination and loop diagrams becoming a typical or eliminate them altogether. Loop testing with partial automation. Termination drawings and termination of multi-paired cables are eliminated, and the hardware factory acceptance tests for standard cabinets is no longer required. Controller and smart junction boxes ordered by a part number. System design and signal marshalling done via the software, decoupling the hardware and the software design. Reducing the footprint in your LER, your control building. Reducing the typical 20% spare that we build into the equipment today for scope growth or future expansion. The new technology, separating the software from the hardware so they're no longer connected. Your schedule actually reduces. It allows for parallel but separate paths for the control system's hardware and software. Again, no hardware testing required. It's now a part number. You're restricted based on the fabrication schedule, which that also eliminates costly travel, logistical challenges around the project-specific development and testing in one location. Ability to easily leverage global resources and high-valued engineering centers. Software tests can be done incrementally in a virtual environment. Easier resolution of issues between the EPC office and the automation programmers. So this is the vision that ExxonMobil set out with It Just Happens and challenged to all the automation and electrical providers as well as the EPCs. So answering the challenge is Emerson. It's one of the automation vendors that's answered this call for change. Through Project Certainty, Emerson is leading the change in the automation world with standardized junction boxes, eliminating the need for factory acceptance testing again. Virtual software acceptance testing, again, eliminating the need for costly travel. You can sit at your desk, access the program through the virtual cloud, and huge cost savings right there with travel expenses and time. So since I took over this control systems electrical department in 2015, I started looking hard at how we were executing projects and really learning about the technology that was available to us. What I found was that there were a couple of projects that we were actually executing. We were actually using the new technology, However, the personnel involved were executing with the old mindset. This included my own people at Fluor, it included the client, and it also included Emerson employees. No one understood the change that needed to take place with the work processes to accommodate the new technology. We're basically stuck in a paradigm, doing things the same way, and that has cost implications. So the biggest challenge that I've truly seen and have seen is just the reluctance from people to change. They get stuck in what they know and what they have done and how they've done it, and don't take a look at what the technology dictates them to do. So what my company has done to adopt these changes, specifically with the electrical and control systems perspective, is to work with key suppliers such as Emerson, to start from the bottom up, using the technology to develop the work processes, to optimize the engineering and design, using the technology cutting the cost for both the supplier and ourselves, reducing cost and complexity, utilizing the technology to dictate how we execute the projects and not the other way around. We call this zero-based execution. One of our core capabilities that's part of Fluor's integrated solution approach is this zero-based execution. As part of our effort to create a significant reduction in the capital intensity of projects, we adopt this approach on a number of projects and prospects and are gaining the interest of our clients. So all too often, the project basis is founded on what has been done traditionally, including out-of-date technology, unnecessary gold plating, and excessive specifications and standards, which adds layers of unnecessary cost, which is the red cog. Clients are increasingly recognizing the need to incorporate a design basis with minimum kit or fit-for-purpose approach without these layers and apply more industry standards and standardization in design versus customizing that adds cost and development time. Starting at this zero base, which is the little wheel with no cog on it at the bottom, adding only what is necessary for the project to be safe, legal, and operable, we can evaluate the opportunity to help the client make value-driven choices and develop the best project execution approach. So clients want our help with this, gently pushing back when changes create additional cost and developing solutions that lower and improve the delivery. So this is the approach Fluor has taken in developing the work processes to fit with the automation technology. So in March of 2016, Emerson and Fluor held a workshop at Emerson's Technology Center in Austin to develop the work processes together based on the CHARMS technology, starting with a blank sheet of paper, or the zero base, to develop the processes based on what technology dictates. Not in reverse from lessons learned and coming down to the yellow cog. We started from the bottom and worked up. So zero-based execution was the basis for the workshop that we undertook. So as a result, between Fluor and Emerson, we established a guideline for executing projects utilizing the CHARMS technology. This eliminates duplicate efforts or activities between the two companies. Using this basis, I'm seeing a reduction in the control systems engineering man-hours of roughly 4% against the traditional benchmark historical percentages of the overall engineering hours. I think that's a conservative number. I've seen a little bit more in some cases, but and it doesn't seem like much, but when you take into consideration some of the size of the projects that are out there right now, 4% is pretty significant. What we also found is that the technology and the execution strategy works regardless of the construction execution method, whether it's traditional stick-built or modular fabrication. Project certainty and the technology that comes with it is a perfect match to go with modular fabrication, modular design. Putting the smart I/O boxes in a module, I can have everything on that module 100% checked out and commissioned before it ever leaves the mod yard, saving countless dollars in the field where labor rates are higher and restrictions are more stringent. I also believe as we execute more projects with the new technology, that we'll be able to further optimize this workflow and see additional savings as we move forward. So as I mentioned before, the biggest hurdle in front of us is the pure reluctance to change with the technology. We need to take advantage of what is offered from a technology advancements to help get control systems off of the critical path on projects and reduce costs. While control systems makes up a small percentage of the overall cost of a capital project, if we don't do our part to change, it impacts the entire project. So plan early when cost savings are at their prime. Management needs to drive this change from the top down. There are definitely cost benefits to a different approach. What Emerson is doing with Project Certainty is tailor-made for how my company is progressing and moving into the future with project execution. I'll leave you with one last thought. So never be afraid to try something new, because life gets boring when you stay within the limits of what you already know. So embrace the technology and look for opportunities to optimize your work process. Take advantage of the new technology and the opportunities that it provides to reduce cost and complexity on your next project. Thank you.